Well, hello, folks out there in YouTube land. Got a big show lined up for you. Let's get right on into it. All right, yeah, Paul Finebaum has ripped the Ohio State fans, and we got to ask the question, do they deserve it? A very interesting question. It's one I'm asking, not Paul. Now, I've covered Ohio State quite a bit, especially the lead up to the Tennessee game, and also because of the whole Michigan thing with Connor Stallions, the sign stealing, all that stuff.
Sign stealer guy.
And their fan base is pretty interesting. They're incredibly passionate, but they have turned on Ryan Day on more than one occasion. And when I say turned on him, I mean they wanted him gone after that Michigan loss, the fourth one in a row. But again, I kept saying the first two, I don't think we're on him. The third one, you can say maybe, but I think Michigan was a lot better team because of what Connor had done. That's my opinion. You may disagree.
Allegedly.
But anyway, after they lost that game, and I think that was probably on him, the way he called the game and controlled it and tried to be tough, and he was going to run up the middle. But still, he'd won an 87% rate. He's recruited like crazy. And yes, they have a big advantage in NIL. I get that. But you still got to get the guys in there, and you got to raise the money.
Comes in pretty handy down here, bub.
Oh, tut.
And he's won at a very high level. And if you ever saw the record, the first year before Connor showed up at Michigan, his Ohio State team whooped the crap out of him by 3 scores. So anyway, the fans were definitely on him, and they were kind of responding like this.
Fire Ryan Day.
It's the worst moment of my life. You got to fire Ryan Day.
I'll never recover from this. Fire Ryan Day yesterday.
Yeah, they wanted him gone. And that had a lot to do with the fact that the Vols were able to buy 30,000 tickets, or, let's call it 25,000 for the Ohio State fans so we can calm down. Okay, 25. There is no chance you would have been able to go into any SEC school for a playoff game and pick up 25,000 seats when only 3,500 was allowed. It's just Ohio State fans were mourning. That's what they were doing over the loss of Michigan. They were just so upset about it.
It's got to be America's team.
And they didn't turn their back on the team, but they definitely did on Ryan Day, at least a percentage of them, to the tune of almost a third of the stadium. So Paul Finebaum called him out. He said on his show, he said, can you imagine nearly half of Tennessee's Neyland Stadium being inhabited by Ohio State fans if they had a regular season matchup or even a playoff game in reverse? Paul Finebaum asked on the Finebaum show. He said that wouldn't happen because fans in the South take great pride in their teams while the Buckeye fans completely sold out.
Oh, well, there's strikes 2 and 3 right there.
Now, that's pretty tough words. Now, Paul has a tendency to be a bit of a flamethrower, but I couldn't quite understand, and if you have watched my show on a regular basis, many of you Ohio State fans that are probably watching this, I have called that out a lot. It's like, man, y'all are being awful hard on this dude. Now, I get he's got a little bit of Butch Jones in him. He made the comment of, the goal was to make the 12-team playoff, and that upset some folks. But the reason it upset him is because it came right after the Michigan game. Anything he would have said would have ticked people off. That wasn't, perfect.
Oh, well, pardon me, Mr. Perfect. I guess I forgot that you never ever make a mistake.
So I'm gonna say this. I think Ohio State is the best team in this playoff, and they should win it all. I mean, that's just my opinion coming at it from a neutral point of view. I saw the talent gap and what they're capable of doing when they play to their strengths, which is throwing the ball, and then you work it to your running backs. They've got great running backs, but honestly, they need to throw the ball. They've got wide receivers that are almost unstoppable. So, yeah, I think they've been too hard on Ryan Day. Who knows? If they get beat by Oregon, hell, they'll be wanting rid of him again. Get rid of him. Ryan Day's no good. We need him to be at 95%, not 87 or 88. It's not easy to win against these teams. You're going up against the number 1 team in the country in Oregon, who I think you're better than. I don't think their defense can stop you at all. I've watched Oregon in multiple games. Their defense is not that great. They have a great offense. You should be able to slow their offense down. You really should. With your cornerbacks, and you got Caleb Downs back there, the eraser, the human eraser. You make a mistake, and he just erases it out of the way. And I'm going to read you something that I thought was super interesting. This was from an Ohio State fan. And this was a comment made to me on YouTube. It said, Buckeye here. Here's a true story about Ohio State NIL. We knew we were in the running for Downs and some good portal players. Said our NIL collectives put out a call for money on X. Ohio State fans responded by literally crashing 3 NIL sites trying to give money. The fans did that. Now, I assume that was a legitimate Ohio State fan. It was a few days ago. And I was talking about, how much money Ohio State has as opposed to most other teams. They're in the top 5. They're right where you'd want to be. And that was this chart. That's what this comment was based on. It was this right here that Ohio State has right at $20.2 million is what they spent this year. And there's a couple other teams, all of which are still in the playoff, that spent either a little bit more, or Oregon that spent almost $3 million more. And for the Vols fans, this is an approximation. We don't know the exact number, but this is what the internet says that we spent on football. So the fans do care. Obviously, they care a whole lot. We went into that ball game and y'all had an $8 million advantage, and you took advantage of it. And you used that and beat us, and you beat us soundly. And it really, as horrible as it was, as a Tennessee fan, and it was horrible, it was a nightmare to watch. In some awful way, maybe it showed us where our shortcomings are. And I felt that way every time we played Georgia, especially on the road. They just bully us. And we got bullied in this game. And it just boils down to the fact we just got to keep building our talent. We've reached this little plateau of 10 wins, which is great. Honestly, it's not bad at all. But if you want to play against the top 5, you got to get in that game. That's just what it boils down to. Otherwise, you're going to get bullied, especially on the road, which is very difficult. And I am still shocked that Tennessee was able to buy that many tickets. And a lot of that had to do with Tennessee's fervor and how excited we get about football. And the other part of it was the Ohio State fan base was so down on Ryan Day that they were like, they just gave up their tickets. It's like, we don't want him. I don't even want to go. If he's going to coach that way, I won't even watch. You go, well, all right. You missed a game then that you should have watched. But anyway, some of you Ohio State fans absolutely deserve it. Some of you don't. Some of you have stuck with your team and you were fine. And I know in the comment section, well, you haven't been through losing 4 times to Michigan. Yes, I have. I lost 15 times to Alabama.
My Alabama Crimson Tide.
Don't tell me what I hadn't been through. You don't know what battered Vols syndrome is. Many of my Vols fans do. You know what? I'm not explaining it quite right. Cousin Earl, explain battered Vols syndrome.
Here are the 3 ways you know if you've got battered Vols syndrome. If in the second half of the Alabama game when Hendon Hooker had that there fumble and that feller picked it up and ran in the end zone, if you screamed out, I knew it, we can't beat Bama, you might have battered Vols syndrome. If your favorite pose after a bad play becomes the surrender cobra, you almost certainly got some of that there battered Vols syndrome. And if you've ever done like this feller here and given up your fandom over a bad game, I believe this feller's name is Carolina Jackpot.
I don't have a team anymore. My team is no longer going to be the South Carolina Gamecocks.
You definitely have battered Vols syndrome.
Yep. Cousin Earl explains it better than I do. Anyway, yeah, I think some of you deserve it. I think you've been too hard on Ryan Day. And I nicely said that leading up to that game. And now it's pretty obvious. But again, if you lose to Oregon, which I do not think you will, there'll be some people wanting him fired. Just kind of how it is. I really think it's unfair that what happened with Connor Stallions at Michigan is having such a negative impact on him. That's something he had nothing to do with. So that's just my opinion, and I am a neutral person on this. Even though I'm still angry about that game, it's not like y'all had our signs. So it is what it is. Anyway, if you like this content, be sure to hit that like button. Let's continue to cover all these big college sports stories. Some of you probably don't like this. Some of you in Ohio State are mad. Ooh, I understand. And right over here is the subscribe button. Some of y'all that got through this, just hit that little button. It'll help you get my videos. And right over here is the most recent video that YouTube thinks you'll enjoy based on the algorithm. And I fight the algorithm every day. Anyway, we'll see you next time on Sports Talk Jay. Y'all need to win. If you'll win, I'll feel better about that loss. If you don't, then I'm going to be like, crap. Maybe we're the problem, which somewhat we were. Anyway, see ya.